Watch your phone unlock when you smile. How can a tiny camera know it's your face? Here's the cool part. It's not magic, it's math. And today we'll do the math together. Your phone's camera is just a flashlight detector. It turns light into numbers, 240,000 dots per photo. Each dot is a brightness level from 0, black, to 255, white. So how does a computer turn 240,000 numbers into "that's Alice's face"? Let's open the math box. Let's shrink the problem to a 5 by 5 grid, only 25 dots. Each dot is a number, 0 for black, 255 for white. We'll draw a smiling face inside these 25 numbers. Ready? Here we go. Now the computer needs to spot a face. It doesn't know faces, so it uses a tiny pattern recipe. A 3-number guide that says left eye bright, 210, right eye medium, 220, mouth dark, 215. Watch how we line up this recipe over the 25 dots. Next, we slide that 3-number recipe across every 3 by 3 patch of our 5 by 5 grid. At each stop, we subtract the recipe numbers from the patch numbers, square the differences, and add them up. The smallest total is our winner. That patch looks most like our face recipe. One patch scored 350. That's not 0, so it's not perfect. But if another patch scores 420, it's even worse. The computer keeps sliding, scoring every patch. The lowest score wins. That spot is a face. We repeat, one recipe for eyes, one for nose, one for mouth. Each recipe scores every patch. The spots with the lowest scores together form the face's wireframe, like building a stick figure face from tiny dots. Every recipe gives a confidence score: eyes 92%, nose 88%, mouth 95%. The phone adds them up and divides by 3, 91.7%. If that total beats 75%, the phone says, "Yes, unlock." Here's the magic. The phone isn't looking at a picture. It's doing math on 240,000 numbers every time you smile. No magic, just counting how close each patch is to the patterns it knows. Let's watch it in action. On the left is the live camera feed. On the right, we'll show the numbers updating in real time. Every frame the recipes slide, scores compute, and the unlock bar fills when confidence hits 75%. Ready? Watch the numbers. See that? As I turn my head, the numbers for eyes, nose, and mouth jump around. When they all line up above 75%, the bar turns green and the phone unlocks. All in less than a blink. Pause there. You just watched a computer turn light into numbers, slide pattern recipes, and add up errors to recognize a face. That's face detection in 1 minute. Just math. But what about dim light or a mask? Our simple recipe struggles. That's why newer phones add infrared sensors. These sensors give each dot a third number. Depth. Now every dot is 3 numbers, not 1. That extra dimension helps the recipes see depth and temperature. Let's compare the old way, just brightness, with the new way, brightness plus depth plus temperature. We'll slide the same recipe over both images. Watch how the scores change when we add depth and temperature. With depth and temperature, the recipe scores a much lower 98. That's because the extra numbers help the computer tell the difference between a flat photo and a real 3D face. No mask can fool it now, unless it's 3D printed. So next time you unlock your phone with a smile, remember, it's not magic. It's 240,000 numbers, pattern recipes, and simple math. The computer is just counting how close each patch is to the patterns it knows. But why stop at faces? The same math powers self-driving cars. Imagine a car using recipes to spot a stop sign, a pedestrian, or a lane line every millisecond. The car's cameras turn the world into numbers, and the math tells it what to do. Here's a secret. The pattern recipes aren't handwritten. They're learned from thousands of photos. The computer starts with random recipes, tries to recognize faces, checks its answer against the real labels, and slowly tunes the recipes to get better and better. It's like practicing a sport until your muscle memory is perfect. So how does the computer actually learn those recipes? It uses a tiny program called a neural network, a stack of simple math layers. Each layer takes the numbers from the previous layer, does a little math, and passes the result on. After many layers, the final numbers tell the computer whether a patch is a face or not. Here's what one layer looks like in code. Don't worry, it's just 2 lines. First, it multiplies every number by a weight, like 0.4 or taka 0.2. Second, it adds a small bias, like 0.1. That's it. This tiny math happens millions of times in every layer. Let's plug in a real patch. The first pixel is 210. The weight is 0.4 and the bias is 0.1. Multiply 210 x 0.4 equals 84. Add bias, 84 plus 0.1, 84.1. That's the new number for this pixel after one layer. The next layer does the same trick with different weights and biases. After dozens of layers, the final numbers become the pattern recipes we slide across the photo. The computer has learned to recognize faces just by doing simple math over and over. So there it is, the big secret behind Face Unlock. It's not magic, it's not looking at pictures, it's counting how close tiny patches of numbers look like the patterns the computer has learned. No spells, just spreadsheets. Of course, the simple recipe method isn't perfect. If you tilt your head or wear sunglasses, the numbers change and the scores drop. That's why real systems use many more recipes and extra sensors like infrared to keep the math accurate even when the world isn't perfect. And remember, face detection isn't just for phones. It's in medical scans that spot tumors, in drones that map forests, in cameras that sort recycling, and in robots that sort packages in warehouses. Everywhere you see an AI seeing, it's doing the same math on pixels. Even art gets the math treatment. Museums use it to restore faded paintings by analyzing brushstroke patterns pixel by pixel. The math doesn't care if it's a face, a tree, or a Picasso, it just counts patterns in numbers. So next week, we'll crack the next mystery. How AI turns those same 3D numbers into a self-driving car's eyes. No steering wheel required. Until then, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, what would you teach the computer to see?